Welcome to this edition of Mayor's Report Livermore. I'm your host, Dr. Marshall Kamena. Joining me today is Mayor John Marchand from the wonderful city of Livermore. Welcome to you, Mayor Marchand.
Always a pleasure to be here, Marshall.
You always have exciting things on Mayor's Choice, and I wonder if you would share any topic you have in mind for Mayor's Choice today.
Sure. So as you know, we had our 4th of July ceremony or celebration at the airport. We've done that a couple of years now. So this year we like to celebrate the warbirds, some of the World War II planes that are responsible for the liberties that we enjoy today.
Did someone actually come in?
Well, we had the only flying Marine B-25 in the world came in. That was there. We had it's called the Mimsy 3. It's an F-6F Hellcat. The Hellcats were the first planes that the Blue Angels used. And the Mimsy 3 was credited with 32 kills during World War II. There was a flyover with 9 T-6s, and also there was one of only 6 flying Japanese Zeros in the world was there. There were thousands of families and kids. We had the police department, the fire department. The kids were climbing up into the fire trucks. The police had activities. The Alameda County Sheriff's Department was there with their helicopter. The kids got a real charge out of that. Quest Science Center was there, and these kids were making hang gliders and then putting them into a wind tunnel and having them fly up into the air. So it was just a lot of fun. The Veterans First program from Las Positas College was out there. They had an axe throwing activity, which was kind of fun. But it was just, Amu's Kitchen was there with the food trucks. It was, Marty's food truck was there. We had the Fusion food truck. Butter and Batter was there.
Is Fusion food
well, that's Ronnie Forbes. He does barbecue and Filipino cuisine.
Okay.
So that's the fusion there.
But how did you get all those attractions?
Yeah, well, we get to work with great people, and they worked with a number of the other agencies around, and then brought in the warbirds from Southern California. So it was quite an event. We had. Wheels Bus was shuttling people in from Las Positas College because we'd lost one of the parking areas down there. So they were parking up at Las Positas College. Wheels was running 8 buses and moved over 7,000 people on that Saturday.
No.
So it was a great day. It was a lot of fun. And then that was 4th of July. And then the last 2 weeks, we've had a couple of ribbon cuttings, welcoming new businesses into Livermore. One of them is called Inertia, and that's it's a fusion energy company, and they're Andy Kreitzer and Michael Dunn are 2 of the principals on that. Well, Annie was the first person. She was the leader of the team. That was the first team on Earth to create fusion energy. And that was at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory.
Of course.
Yeah, so they've now started their own company called Inertia, and they're working to scale up the holorams, the beads that contain the fuel. They're scaling up to create these that are larger fuel cells, but are cheaper. Because right now the holoram fuel cells are about $50,000 each. So they're working to scale these up in production so that they're dropped down to about $1 a piece. So
is that right?
This is what's going to make fusion energy feasible, is being able to scale this up to a production level where they can fire these frequently enough to actually sustain the fusion reaction and generate heat and generate energy. So that was last week. This week,
last week.
Yeah, that was last. So
not to be outdone.
Well, yeah, that was last week. Yesterday, we welcomed Velo 3D. Now, Velo 3D is an additive 3D printing company, and they just opened
What
up.
does that mean by additive?
Additive. So instead of printing something, just stamping it out apart, they actually add the metal to the sequentially add the metal in 3 dimensions to build a part.
Have you ever seen that before?
It's pretty fascinating. It's amazing. So they can make these incredibly complicated designs because they're printing them, and the production facility that they have, it's the size of 3 Costco warehouses. The thing is massive. And
3 Costco warehouses.
yeah, 3 Costco is 300 square feet, 300,000 square feet. And they're going to be installing these giant machines, and these are to produce parts for aerospace, for for aerospace industry, for computer industry, for all different types of 3D manufacturing, rocketry. Literally, they have rocket scientists that are working there. So very exciting. This is really the next phase in manufacturing is going to be this additive 3D printing, and that's the future is happening right here in Livermore.
That's wonderful.
It is. It's very cool.
Now, Livermore is going to celebrate its 150th anniversary, and I'm happy to say that TV30 was at the event recently to participate in those honors. Could you give us a short review?
Sure. It was a great event. We were at Livermore Plaza because Livermore is one of only 6 cities in the world that have an element named after us and have our name on the periodic table. So in the heart of our downtown, we've got that 11,000-pound ball representing the nucleus of Livermorium. We had a lot of the community came out for this. We had Element 116, the high school band was there. They serenaded the crowd with music. They had State Senator McNerney was out there.
He's back.
Rebecca Bauer-Cahan was there, representing the 150th anniversary. We had local artists were there. The Heritage Guild was there with the old photographs. We also had our new poet laureate, Faith Alfer. You may remember her from radio, our radio personality, KKIQ.
Yes.
And so she wasn't able to be there, but she was able to, we recorded her, so she presented her poem celebrating the 150th anniversary. There was also a haiku poetry competition that they presented the winner there. And it was a great opportunity to reflect on the rich history that we have, founded by Stockman and now at the cutting edge of technology, but still embracing the arts and our culture and science and all of those things that come together, and the oldest commercial wine region in California.
Absolutely. And here's a quick tip that not many people know. KKIQ was originally KYTE, Kite Stereo, and then later on they got smarter and changed it to KKIQ.
Oh, okay. So they weren't going to be flying up in the ratings, huh?
That's right. As you know, recently Alameda County Supervisor Scott Hegarty passed away, and each of us, you and I, really had a long opportunity to work with him. He was possibly the only supervisor who could have followed Charlie Santana.
Yeah.
And he was the one who followed Bill Lockyer.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could give us some of your thoughts with regard to Supervisor Hegarty.
Well, he really, so I was elected mayor in 2011, but I had served on the Alameda County Transportation Commission. And
they called it ACTC?
ACTC, the Alameda County Transportation Commission. And he was the chair while I was there. And he was a great champion for transportation and for the Tri-Valley. It's a small world. So before he met his wife, I knew her from the Alameda County Water District. She was an engineer at the Water District where I worked as a chemist. So I knew Patty for years, and we were at an event at the Rose Center, the Rose Pavilion Center in Pleasanton, and we're at this event, and Patty was there, and Scott Haggard and I were speaking, and I asked her, I said, what are you doing here? Why are you? And she says, well, I'm with Scott. And I had no idea because I just recognized her from the Water District. But they were a wonderful pair. They married. They moved to Tennessee when Scott retired from the supervisors. But he served 6 terms as supervisor and was a tremendous advocate for, as I said, transportation. He and I also served on the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission together. But he was a great advocate for the Tri-Valley, for the region, for transportation. He was he provided some of the funding to allow Goodness Village, which is the tiny home village that we have in Livermore, to come to Livermore. He provided funding and a lot of the inertia behind that to make it happen. So
I'm glad you mentioned Goodness Village because my oldest grandson has just gotten his Eagle Scout Award for improvements at that village.
It's a wonderful. It's a community, is what it is, and I think it's wonderful that the community has come together, and it's a tremendous success. In fact, there were people at Goodness Village that walked to the airport to participate in the July 4th celebration over there. But Scott was a great friend to the region, yes, and a great advocate for the region, and his loss will be felt. But
absolutely,
the benefits that he's provided will last for generations.
Certainly couldn't agree with you more. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back on this edition of Mayor's Report Livermore in just a moment. Welcome back to this edition of Mayor's Report Livermore. We're here talking with John Marchand, the very mayor himself from the city of Livermore. Item number 4,
yes,
is Water Management Plan, and the Council unanimously adopted the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan and accompanying the 2025 Water Shortage Contingency Plan. That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
Would you highlight some of the components, and were any left out that should have been considered possibly for the future?
Well, so this is a living document. This is something that we revisit every few years, and Zone 7 plans in 5-year increments in the advance. So when we're working on the water plans, we're projecting 5 years in the future, and then 10 and 20, because this is all about long-range planning. It's to make sure that we're ready, because around us we have these arroyos. Well, they're called arroyos and not rios. They're not rivers for a reason, because they're ephemeral streams. So these dry up periodically, and that's part of being in a Mediterranean climate, is we don't have these year-round flows.
Well, that's a good question for a quiz show.
Yeah, absolutely. What's an ephemeral stream? We have these contingency plans, and also, as you mentioned, the water shortage plan. So we have 6 levels of response if there are water shortages. There's voluntary conservation, there's mandatory conservation, but Livermore has no water resources of our own. So we work very closely with the water purveyors, like the California Water Service and Zone 7, because we buy all of our water from Zone 7. So in this document, it projects years in the future, and we have sufficient supplies. even if there's a 5-year drought, because we're sitting on a groundwater basin that can contain 250,000 acre-feet of drinking water. So we also, this is why Zone 7 has installed these polyfluoroalkyl sulfonate removal systems. The PFOS is well known as a forever chemical. So Zone 7 has installed these treatment systems to remove the PFOS. And at the same time, we're putting the finishing touches on our general plan update. So that's something that we do every 20 years or so, every 20, 25 years. And in fact, you were on the council when we did the last one in 2002. And now we're doing the next one. So all of these elements come together to plan for the droughts, to plan for the 100-year storms, all of these things, the flood control, everything else comes together. And as we're working on the general plan update, that's going to be targeting all the future growth in Livermore for the next 20, 25 years. But at the same time, it's also ensuring that we have the sufficient resources, for example, water, to meet that demand over the next 25 years.
Is there any connection with Isabel?
Isabel...
Any relationship to our north-south Isabel?
The Isabel Expressway?
Expressway, yes.
And the...
How many Isabels do you know?
Actually, there is a connection that is being built between Pit A and Pit B and C, which will allow water to be moved between the quarry pits. So that, but they've actually have to. That's a conduit that's got to go under Isabel Avenue. But it's all about one of the plans is to create a pipeline that goes from the chain of lakes back to Lake Del Valle and the Del Valle treatment plant, because in a time of a drought, we may need to be able to move water from the chain of lakes back to the treatment plant so that we can run it through the treatment plant and use that as drinking water. There's about 85,000 acre-feet of water in the chain of lakes.
Wow.
And again, when you have 250,000 acre-feet of drinking water in the groundwater basin, that provides the basis for a lot of this, our drought contingency, the water shortage contingencies, so that we will continue to be able to supply the water from both Zone 7 and the wells from California Water Service to ensure that we do have sufficient water resources to meet the demand of our growing population.
That's very well said. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's what I used to do.
I wouldn't have guessed. Our next quick subject is e-bikes. The relatively new proliferation of e-bikes has been creating some safety challenges, I would think, for walkers and drivers and bikers. We've touched a little bit on this before, and I wonder if you could refresh your memory on what are some of the laws if we are riding an e-bike or purchasing one for our child, and moreover, does the police department have some educational course relative to that coming up?
Yes, to all of those.
All right.
So we just had a council meeting, and one of the things that I initiated at the council meeting was that let's look at some of the traffic regulations around e-bikes, because e-bikes come in a lot of different styles. There are true bicycles that have functional pedals. There's also electric motorcycles,
yes,
which are a completely different animal. And so I've actually had to step off of the sidewalk to allow an e-motorcycle to go by. Now, these are called sidewalks for a reason. You walk next to the side of the road, and that's what it's for. They're not for motorized vehicles. So we've asked the city staff to come back with regulations on how do we ensure the safety of the sidewalks and make sure that those are dedicated to people that are walking and the mobility challenged, for example, motorized wheelchairs, but that you don't have somebody doing 30 miles an hour on a motorcycle down the sidewalk. So that's going to be coming back. There are, again, there's different power constraints in these things. There's 1, 2, and 3 levels of e-bikes or e-motorcycles. Some are allowed on trails, some are not, some are allowed on roadways, others are not. So it's incumbent upon parents to understand that what exactly are they buying for their children and where it's legal to ride that.
Is the insurance required?
I don't believe so. I don't believe that. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
It seems logical.
Because you don't. Insurance isn't required for bicycles.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But e-bikes.
Yeah, e-bikes are a different beast. So you have these. One of the requirements is if a child is under 18, they have to wear a helmet on an e-bike or an e-motorcycle.
Makes sense.
I imagine that I would advise that anybody riding one of these things wears a helmet, because we don't bounce real well, and when we hit the pavement, the pavement doesn't give. What gives is people's skulls.
Absolutely.
So I would advise that everybody wears a helmet as they ride these things. But also, they are a motorized vehicle. So they have to abide by all of the laws and regulations. They're not exempt from those. You have to stop at stop signs. You have to yield to pedestrians. So all of these things are extraordinarily important. We have, there's a video that the police department is producing that people can get more education. It's incumbent upon the parents, before they buy these things for their kids, that they know what they're buying and the power of what they're buying. We have an education course that is Tuesday, August 25th, is going to be a police department e-bike safety course for both riders and parents. And it's going to be best practices and safety tips for e-bikes and electric scooters. It's going to be an opportunity to ask questions.
Where do you go?
Well, so you can go to police.livermoreca.gov for more information. That's the Livermore Police Department. Again, it's police.livermoreca.gov for more information.
Are there any other events you'd like to share with us before we end?
All kinds of good stuff. We've got Tuesday, August 4th, from about 5 to 8 is going to be our National Night Out. This is always a great event. Community, we had I think 50 gatherings. 50 neighborhoods came together last year. They can register with the city, but the city staff, the police department, the fire department, we drive around to a lot of these different neighborhood parties just to introduce ourselves. If people have questions, they want to talk, they have complaints. I can't imagine why they complain, but sometimes they do. But it's an opportunity to get to meet your neighbors, and it's part of the Neighborhood Watch program, so that people know who's supposed to be in their neighborhood, who isn't. And it's a great event. And it's going to be there's going to be food, community fun, and you can register your neighborhood again at police.livermoreca.gov. And register your neighborhood. We also have the 2026 bookmark art contest. It's going to be ending at the end of the month, so be sure to submit your entry.
What is a bookmark contest?
Well, you design a bookmark, and then the library produces those bookmarks. But there are 4 categories: up to age 5, age 6 to 11. Age 12 to 17, and 18 and over. One winner from each category is going to be chosen, and the winning bookmarks will be printed for distribution, so you can have your art mass-produced and sent out into the community. For more information, you can go to the library website at library.livermoreca.gov. You notice there's a pattern there.
Yes, there certainly is.
But livermore.ca.gov. For more information about the bookmark competition.
Very quickly, is there any other event you'd like to share with us before we end the program?
I think that's about it. We got a lot of good things going on, and of course, there's always things happening in the downtown. There's Tuesday Tunes in front of the Bankhead Theater, and that's a free music event every Tuesday.
Tuesday Tunes, it's called.
Yep.
Oh gosh, you've had a lot of information here, and certainly from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for being here and updating us. And thank you for watching this edition of Mayor's Report Livermore. Join us for the next episode of Mayor's Report right here on Tri-Valley TV. I'm Dr. Marshall Kamena, and I thank you all for joining us.